My name is Neil, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'd like to thank Paul and Tracy. I know this is called gratitude and trust. For me, I had to trust before I got hit with the gratitude. And on November 19th, 1987, while I was working with a band that was performing in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I decided to get on my knees and trust in God to help me get sober. And it happened, and the gratitude has been washing over me ever since. It's been unbelievable. As Paul said, I also work for Sony Music, and I consult Karen. I consult an organization called Music Cares. And I'm going to talk about how we help musicians get sober, or people in the music business, but it goes for anybody. So I was on the phone with Todd last night, and I was just saying, Todd, how many musicians have we lost to the disease of addiction? And we were coming up with the usual names, and maybe 5 or 6. I said, I know there's more than that. I just can't think of them. So you couldn't have done this a few years ago. I Googled how many rock musicians died from drug and alcoholism, overdoses, etc. And some of the people some are just in bands you might know. Canned Heat at 27, Jimi Hendrix at 27, Janis Joplin at 27, Jim Morrison at 27, Robin Cole from the Association at 29, Graham Parsons at 26, from the Stooges, Zeke Zettner at 25, Nick Drake, 26, Tim Buckley, 28. It keeps going on. Tommy Bolin, 25. One gentleman made it to the ripe old age of 42, Elvis Presley. Keith Moon from The Who. Imagine this. Someone from The Who, The Stones, and Led Zeppelin all had drug overdoses in their bands. It's absolutely incredible. Lowell George of Little Feat. Bon Scott, AC/DC, John Bonham, Led Zeppelin, Tim Hardin, Mike Bloomfield, Lester Bangs. It's unbelievable. Thin Lizzy, Paul Butterfield. This is just, and it goes back to Nina Simone and Judy Garland and Bessie Smith. It's actually unbelievable. There's a big draw for people in this profession to use drugs and alcohol for maybe starting out for what they think are creative reasons, although it turns out that those musicians who have gotten sober will all tell you that their creativity did not diminish when they put down the drugs and the alcohol, but in fact was enhanced. And those were the unfortunates. We are blessed to know a whole bunch of people who are very famous who are sober. And these people also raise the flag of sobriety and life whenever they have a chance to. And I'm not breaking any anonymity, because all these people have broken their own anonymity to the public. I just said the Stones, Zeppelin, The Who had someone died. Well, the Beatles had someone who lived, Ringo Starr, an incredible advocate for sobriety. Elton John, Eric Clapton, Joe Walsh, James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt, Steven Tyler, Trey Elizondo from Phish, Ozzy Osbourne, Anthony Kiedis from the Peppers, David Bowie, Keith Urban, Donovan, Eminem, Peter Townsend. So you don't have to die from drugs or alcohol to be a musician or in the music business. Paul and I worked with this man called Buddy Arnold. You mentioned it before, from the Musicians Assistance Program. I was his New York rep, and Buddy was out in Los Angeles. And the whole idea of addiction and creativity, somehow I was blessed by my higher power to be able to get involved with it. And from the moment I got sober in November of '87, I was in the music business for my entire career. I was at radio then. I was at a record company. So I've been with record companies, music publishers, or radio stations for the last 35 years. And when I got sober, I began to help musicians who had problems in sobriety. I would get calls from people on the West Coast, hey, we have a musician coming to New York. Do you think you could take him to a meeting? And my answer was always, yes, of course. And that, because I've been blessed, it just grew and grew and grew until I was getting calls all the time to help people. And it was like, hey, this band is playing at the Garden, and they're having a rehearsal or a sound check at 3 o'clock. They really don't want to leave the venue. Do you think you can bring a couple of people from AA to have a meeting at the sound check? And it really isn't too hard to go to an AA meeting and say, hey, you guys want to come to the Garden and do a meeting with me? So it was just unbelievable. And I got to work with this organization called Music Cares. They're a part of the Grammy organization. And 20 years ago, we were just sitting around talking about sobriety and musicians, and a couple of us, I came up with a suggestion about why don't we have a place backstage at the Grammys for people in recovery, musicians, managers, producers, lighting and sound people. And they said, that's a good idea, let's try it. The Grammys were at Madison Square Garden that year. Our first year, 20 years ago, and they had no room except for a bar that wasn't open, so they covered the alcohol with sheets, and we had our first Music Cares Safe Harbor room. That has spread to the Latin Grammys, the Country Music Awards, Bonnaroo, a million festivals. It's unbelievable. So now, musicians who are in recovery, backstage is a very toxic area. It always has been, and that's why, people get high to loosen up, to get the courage to go on stage, and you know, we all know people who are in recovery know that it's just so temporary to get the courage out of a Coke vial or a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's not real and it doesn't last. So now, we not only have places for musicians to stay sober at events, but a lot of organizations like Bonnaroo, like the Grateful Dead for years, have sections of where the venue they're playing at for people in recovery. And it's catching on, and it's absolutely wonderful that that's happening. Doing this, I got involved with the Karen Foundation, and originally it started with a man named Bill Tudeberg, who would be sending me musicians to bring to meetings. And I got to absolutely love what I was doing and got to volunteer for Karen as much as I could. And from that, I became a business development consultant for Karen, and I also work for Sony Music. And my gratitude, and I thank my higher power daily, the two things that are most important in my life were my career and my recovery. And I get to live both of those dreams, and my gratitude is just off the charts. I can't even express how grateful I am. I find myself, this little Jewish boy, when I go to my dentist, I walk through St. Patrick's Cathedral, and every time I go past it, I go in and light a candle. And I've noticed over the last few years, when I light the candles, it isn't, could I get a promotion? Could I move from a small Mercedes to a bigger one? I wind up, and it blows me away. I wind up lighting a candle. I actually put in $5, and you're supposed to put in $2. And I say, thank you, God, for everything you've given me, everything that I have in my life, my friends, my family, my partner, Jill, and Todd, and just Paul, wonderful people. And if anyone knows anyone that's having a problem with addiction, and they need to know what to do or be pointed in a direction, please come and see me. I'm available 24/7, and I would be absolutely thrilled to help, because the more people I help, the longer that I stay sober. There's about 10 million other things I want to talk about, but I don't have the time and I can't do it, and the man's just ready to hit the timpani. So thank you very much for listening to me, and have a great day.